Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Innovative Solutions Roundtable. This is the Veritone session. My name is Daniel Wong from the marketing team. And today our special guest is Ben Ha, our solutions architect at Veritone. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Daniel.
Ben, why don't you go ahead and lead us through your presentation?
I'd be happy to. So if we could advance to the next slide. So today we're going to be talking about Veritone aiWARE. In particular, one of the applications we're going to demonstrate for you today is how we apply AI towards video and audio redaction. But before we get into that, what I'd like to do is briefly cover how our aiWARE operating system works. So here at Veritone, what we've done is we've taken an approach to really having AI as an operating system. So the idea behind that is you can take in data from different disparate sources, and we can run different types of AI cognition on them. So that can be everything from transcription, where we can understand audio content and make that content searchable based off the words in the spoken conversation. It can be visual content. So maybe we're looking for certain characters on screen, like a license plate number, or maybe we're trying to recognize a face across surveillance footage and find where that face appears. Or maybe we're trying to quickly redact all the heads of people and other sensitive content on screen through body-worn camera footage. So there's so many different use cases for AI within the public safety space. And so what we've done at Veritone is we've taken the holistic approach to pulling together the different types of AI cognitive, what we call engines, from around the world. And so we partner with leading providers such as Microsoft and Amazon, Google, and a lot of smaller startups and everything in between to be able to bring you the best of AI technology and apply it to solve specific use cases, such as redaction, which we're going to highlight for you today. And so this platform just allows us to quickly have the latest and greatest technology available at your fingertips and apply them to solve those use cases. So what we're going to do is really go in and focus in on one application today, which is called Redact. And as you can imagine, that's really about using AI to quickly redact the content coming in. So I'm going to launch into a demonstration of that application here next. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so this Redact application is going to allow you to go through and upload your audio and video content. And everything's, by the way, is running on the Microsoft Azure GovCloud. And so it's designed with CJIS compliance in mind for your agency's purposes. The first step here is to go in and upload your content. And so Redact works out of the box with virtually any standard audio or video file format. We are manufacturer hardware agnostic. So you can have one provider for in-car versus body-worn camera versus CCTV, et cetera. And it doesn't really matter as long as the file's not in a proprietary format or requires a proprietary player. You should be able to just bring it right in and work with it out of the box. Once you select the media file you wish to do the redaction on, you'll see there's two checkboxes below. The first checkbox is to go frame by frame throughout the video content and automatically detect heads of people, as well as other common objects on screen, such as laptop MDT screens and license plates. And as a user, what you're going to be presented with is a review screen that looks like this. So you're going to see a summary of each automatically detected object, color-coded by type. So you'll see here in green, the heads are detected in green, the laptop MDT screens in orange, license plates are in blue. You can even create custom user-defined regions in yellow for any other redaction objects. And so now you can quickly review those detected objects and check or uncheck on the right whether or not you wish to apply that redaction based off your redaction requirements. And so it now moves you from doing the heavy lifting of frame-by-frame video redaction to more of a supervisory role where AI does the heavy lifting for you, and you just simply review and do the final touch-up on the results. The second option is for transcription. So for audio content or video containing audio, we can transcribe that spoken conversation. And what that's going to allow us to do is use that audio transcript as a visual representation of finding and removing the sensitive information from the audio track. So we'll touch on that a little bit more in just a second. Starting off with the video redaction example, what you see over here is that we have the ability to go through on the right side and quickly see the different detections, and we can jump to any moment here on screen. And so, for example, I can go into here and I can say, I want to go through and detect for this particular individual. I can see the 3 different sequences throughout the video where that head appears. and I can just check or uncheck whether or not I wish to apply that redaction. Again, whether you're redacting every single person except for one target or person of interest, or maybe redacting a single person or anywhere in between, Redact is very flexible in the sense that you can check or uncheck whichever objects you wish to do that for. Beyond the automatic detections, what we can also do is we can create custom user-defined redaction regions. So let's say this computer monitor in the center of the screen needs to be redacted. What I can do is draw my own redaction box like this, and then I can choose to track that object forward in time or throughout the entire video. So just like the heads and the other automatically detected objects, it's going to track, follow, and blur this computer monitor throughout the entire video sequence. Now, that works well in most cases, but what happens with really dynamic content like we see with body-worn cameras? What if that object is moving in and out of the camera's frame of view? To deal with that, we have a feature called live tracking. And what that's going to allow you to do is use the mouse to basically follow along and control the tracking process as a user. So as the object moves around screen, you can actually follow it along with the mouse. You can also increase and decrease the size of the box to take into account the object moving closer and further from the camera's point of view. So this feature allows you to deal with even the most challenging and dynamic of video sequences. What I'm going to show for you guys next is an example of the automatic detection in action. So let's take a quick look at this clip. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and point out a few things. You notice on the right-hand side of the screen, beyond the normal head detections, it's actually picking up the reflection of the person in the store glass window. The reason Redact is able to do that is because of how Redact does what's called head detection. So a lot of other similar types of redaction solutions out there on the market, they rely on what's called face detection. It's looking for the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the facial features to be visible on screen. And so while that works well in a lot of cases, it doesn't do too well in situations like this where the face is too far away or blurry, or the person's back is to the camera like we're seeing here, or nowadays people have face masks. And so all of those pose a problem for face detection, which is why with Redact, we realized that early on and we quickly pivoted to a head detection model where it's looking for a head on a torso. So regardless of whether or not you can see the face, it's still able to pick up these detections and automatically redact that for you. So it's an example of how, because Redact is built on this broader aiWARE platform, we have over 500 different AI models and growing. And so we can be very specific and pick and choose the right model for the right use case. So we've talked about video redaction so far. What I want to cover with you guys next is audio redaction. So if a file contains audio, let's say it's a video with audio in it or a standalone audio file, what we can do is transcribe that spoken conversation. And what that's going to allow us to do is use the transcript as a visual map to quickly find and remove sensitive information from the audio track. So for example, I can search the transcript or quickly skim through it.
Penn State.
And I can click on any word to jump right to that moment.
University of Central Florida football game that happened in Ireland a few weeks ago.
So that karaoke style highlighting that you just saw makes it really easy to follow along, but not just that. The point of that is that every single word in the transcript is time correlated, meaning the words themselves have a corresponding start time in the audio track. What that means now is instead of the traditional approach of listening to every second of audio, manually noting down the start time and the end time, plugging that into an audio editor and then muting or toning over that audio, what I can do now is simply select that word or set of words in the transcript and right-click and redact it. And what I've just done there is I've told the system, find that corresponding 6 to 9 second mark in the audio track based off the text in the transcript, so it fills in those values for you automatically, and now mute or tone over that audio. So it's a visual approach to doing audio redaction. Using that same approach, I can also search for a word or phrase, find every instance of that throughout the transcript, right-click and redact it, and now it's going to do that same muting or toning over the audio for all those pieces. So now if I actually play this back, you'll hear how this sounds.
Registration's expired. Can I see your driver's license, please?
So it's muting over the sensitive audio.
You want to get some stuff?
Come from home?
And then it starts playing back again. So you can see how this approach to audio and video redaction is a huge time saver. What we found on average is that an hour-long video traditionally takes 5 to 10 hours to complete that redaction going frame by frame in a video editing software. With Redact, we're able to cut that same video down to under an hour on average. So it's closer to a 1-to-1 ratio based off the length of the file. Now, another technique we can do in terms of the video redaction side of things is we have the ability to change this redaction box. Right now, you'll see this as a green outline so that you can see the video and also where the redaction is going to be. But when you're done doing your initial pass through and you want to do a quick quality check, what you can actually do is change this using the preview mode from an outline to a black fill. And what that's going to do is make it really obvious if you've missed something, because you'll see the face, for example, flash on the screen. What I can also do is increase the playback speed to, let's say, 2 or 4 times as fast, so we're not watching the entire video at normal speed. And then now what I can do is simply rewind to the beginning of the video and play it back at the accelerated speed. So you see how we can quickly speed through the video, do that final quality control check, make sure we haven't missed anything. And then if everything looks good, we can click the redact file button. What that's going to do is publish this redacted output. So right now we're in an edit mode where you can go through, review the redactions, make adjustments as needed. When you click redact file, what that does is it creates a published copy where it burns in the audio and video redactions to the file so it cannot be altered. You'll still have the original available in the application if you need to go back and make edits, but the second tab is going to represent that published output for your review.
Stop date registration's expired. Can I see your driver's license insurance, please?
So you see how it's following along with the head, it's automatically blurring it. This is actually a level 10 blur. So if you wanted to make that lighter, you definitely have that option available. You can also do a complete black fill if it's really sensitive. Let's say you're inside a private residence and you just need to black out the entire section. You can do that as well. For the audio redaction, you can choose between a muting over the audio versus a hard beep or toning noise to make that more explicit. If you're satisfied with the output, what you can now do is click the download button. And what that's going to do is download the redacted audio or video file. In addition to that, it comes with a chain of custody audit log that's going to capture every action that's occurred to the file since it was first uploaded into Redact. So you're going to have the date and time, the user that was logged in, and the details of every action they took. So that's how our Redact application works. So I'd love to, at this point, open it up for some questions.
Great, Ben. That was a great presentation. If any of you in the audience do have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat box and I will be monitoring that. Ben, the first question for you that I have here shown is, how much does something like this cost?
Great question. So Redact is actually very flexible in terms of its pricing structure. We have 2 different models to choose from. One is based off the number of hours of media. So essentially you're paying for your usage. Okay, so if you have, let's say, 100 hours of media that you're going to be redacting over the course of your contract, then you can pay an hourly rate based off of that, just based on how many hours of media have been uploaded total. It's not based on how much time you spend in the application or user time in doing the redaction. It's just the media hours. The other option is if you have a large volume, typically for larger agencies, this makes a lot more sense. You can do an unlimited model where you pay by user seat. So you can say for these 4 users who are part of my redaction team, they're doing redactions all day, every day. I want to just have no caps on how much content I can do the redaction on. And so those are really the 2 options. And we have multiple different variations within each of those.
And did you mention in terms of you can pay by user seat? So you mean I can only pay a 4-seat license or I can get an unlimited? Is that what you're saying or something like that?
That's right. So for each of those 4 user seats, you can have unlimited numbers of hours of media to redact.
Got it.
Or you can just do it based off the total number of hours.
Great. Another question here was asked is what happens if my data is on-premise is one question. And then what happens if my data is on the cloud? And it could be whether it's AWS cloud or what have you. How do you answer that?
Yeah, so it actually doesn't really matter where the data resides because with Redact, you have a simple web interface that you can access from any browser. And you can just upload from your device. So whether it's on your local device, on a network drive, on a thumb drive, wherever it might be, or if it's already in a cloud location, you can just simply click upload and select files from your local device. Now, if you have an ongoing process where maybe content is constantly coming into one location, let's say you have a cloud storage service where that digital evidence sits, what you can also potentially do is build a custom adapter connection into that. So our platform is very flexible in the sense that we can build adapters into different line of business systems that an agency might already have. And so if the volume is there, we can definitely look into building an adapter to help automate the upload of that content.
Great. Another question here is around body-worn cameras. Which body-worn camera footage do we support?
It's really any body-worn camera. So we are manufacturer camera hardware agnostic. And so as long as the camera produces a standard video format with a codec that's not doesn't require a proprietary player, we should be able to work with it out of the box. And last I checked, pretty much all the major body-worn camera manufacturers do that.
Great. Now, Redaction not only does more than just body-worn cameras, but it can also do CCTV footage and things like that. So let's extend that question and saying, how about file formats for those types of other footage, whether it be jailhouse calls or interview rooms and so forth? How do you answer that?
Yeah, it's actually pretty much the same answer for both. So again, camera hardware manufacturer agnostic, or in the case of audio content, your recording device, it doesn't care. So as long as that audio or video file doesn't require a proprietary codec or player, we should be able to just bring it right in and work with it. And we worked with, like you said, not just body-worn camera providers, but in-car camera, CCTV, drone footage, phone, camera shot from the phone. It could be a recording of a Zoom meeting. It really doesn't matter.
Great. Another question here was asking about the onboarding process. So someone buys this, what's the experience like? How fast can they get going with this product?
So that's one of the huge advantages to Redact. Because everything runs in a SaaS-based model on the cloud, there's pretty much no setup time. Once you sign a contract, we can have you activated within a few hours. And then we schedule a user training, which typically lasts 30 minutes to an hour. And at that point, you're up and running on Redact. So there's no complex, you don't have to procure any hardware or software, I shouldn't say software, but you shouldn't have to procure any hardware devices or workstations or anything like that, because it's all browser-based. And so your existing hardware and devices typically will just work, and you can connect right into Redact and be up and running in a matter of a day or two.
Great. You mentioned cloud-based, right? So when we think cloud-based, and given these times with COVID, I guess remote access is very important now. How does that play? I mean, can people use this remotely now?
They absolutely can. As long as they have a high-speed bandwidth, they should be able to work from their home or wherever else they might be during these times.
Great. Question here was, it sounds like, Ben, you use this product a lot. What is your favorite feature, or what do you like best about Veritone Redact?
That's a tough one. I would say it's a split between the automatic detection, because that's just a huge time saver up front. And the other piece would be the live tracking, where you're able to control and kind of fill in those gaps in the redaction, or also really deal with those dynamic types of footage and content. The other feature that's really nice that I enjoy is the audio redaction piece, just being able to apply the transcript as a way to quickly find and remove the audio. Being able to do all of that also in one application. Oftentimes you're dealing with video redaction in one application, audio redaction in another audio editor, and you have to bring them all together. So being able to do all that in one simple interface is just a huge time saver. So I would say those three are my top ones.
Great. Another question here was brought up in terms of audio transcripts that it produces in Redact. What happens when there's someone like Spanglish going on, half English, half Spanish, or multiple languages? Will it capture that, and how do you correct things on that transcript if need be?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's a number of things to consider there. So in general, our aiWARE platform supports all the different major languages of transcription, not to mention translation as well. So you might be transcribing in Spanish and you can translate that back to English. But our Redact application is really laser focused on the redaction use case. And so we've optimized it really for English transcription today. That doesn't mean we can't expand to include Spanish or even both languages Spanglish. But that's something we can easily do on the platform, because we already have access to all those different transcription language models. In terms of the Redact interface, it's really focused on English transcription today and being able to use that. But we do have a sister product called Illuminate, which allows you to do a lot more around the transcription use case. So maybe you have interview room recordings or jailhouse calls, wiretaps, et cetera, where you have some form of audio that needs to be transcribed. And today you might be sending it out to a human transcription service, which is very costly and takes a long time to turn around. You can use the machine transcription that you saw within Redact, but also apply speaker separation and a number of other technologies to make that machine transcription really quick and easy. So now you can quickly search and find what you're looking for. And if you guys think about the public records request process, first you have to find the video footage that needs to be redacted, and then you have to do the redaction. A lot of people take for granted the finding of the footage, but that footage actually does take a long time to find, especially if you don't have a good system or the tools to find that. And so Illuminate will actually allow you to do that as well. You can actually go through massive amounts of audio content, video content, images, and you can find it by a number of different criteria, such as by spoken conversation on the audio side. I can look for a keyword or phrase. On the video side of things, I can look for a face of a particular individual I might be looking for, or I might be looking for people in general. I can also do things like look for this particular object on screen. You can look for text on screen. So there's so many different ways you can narrow down and find your content in the first place. So Illuminate could actually be used in conjunction with Redact, and they have a nice integration where Illuminate can be used to search and find the content. And then with a click of a button, you can push it into Redact to begin the redaction process.
Interesting. Another question came in. I think you might have answered it, but it sounds like, I don't know if you've obviously been in doing this redaction stuff and servicing customers. How much do you see today is really by manual, by manual workflows, and how much time is Redact actually saving? I think you had mentioned that before, but I think it'd be good to just reiterate that.
Sure. So what we found is if you're doing a manual redaction process, meaning you're using something like Adobe Premiere, you're going frame by frame through the video and drawing redaction boxes, next frame, drawing redaction boxes, next frame. That process for a single targeted redaction of an individual for an hour-long video takes anywhere from 5 to 10 hours. So 5 to 10 times the length of the file. With Redact, we typically cut that down to under 1 hour. So it's closer to a 1-to-1 ratio based off the length of that media file.
Great. And so obviously with AI, are people relying on AI 100% of the time, or are still humans involved in the supervisory process of all this?
What we found today is that it is a supervision type of approach. So AI is really used to do the bulk of the heavy lifting, and the rapid technology and the pace at which it's evolving is going to just continue to get better. So transcription, for example, is a really mature category of AI. Typically especially for high quality content like broadcast media, it's in the high 90 percentile of accuracy. Over time, it's going to continue to get better. Same thing applies for the visual side of things where you're detecting heads and other objects on screen. So it will just continue to evolve and get better, which is another benefit of a cloud solution, is that you'll have access to the latest and greatest version of the application at all times. But today, it still requires some user supervision to put the final touches on it, so to speak, especially with the use case of redaction, where you don't even want a single frame of video to be leaked out, where you could actually see the face of an innocent bystander or citizen of some sort. You really want to be extra careful there from a privacy perspective. And so having that element of human review being assisted by AI makes the most sense today.
Great. We have one more question here left. I don't see any more coming into the chat box. If you do have any, please send them through. But unless there's another one. But Ben, this is going to be the last one. In terms of an agency looking to bring on these types of AI applications, what do you recommend as best practices, or what should be, agencies should be looking at when they're looking to bring on, AI-based applications or things into the workflow? What things they should consider?
So given the rapid evolution of AI, I would say it makes sense to look at AI from a more holistic point of view. If you look at just point solutions out there, such as other redaction solutions, they might solve your immediate need, but they're not going to solve your need down the road, maybe a year from now, right? Because now a lot of those solutions are often provided by the camera hardware providers. And so they're limited in terms of their scope of what AI they can actually apply. They might be partnering with another vendor or using some of the technology under the hood, and they don't have a dedicated team that focuses on AI. Veritone is an AI company, and Redaction is actually just one of many solutions we offer. And so because we are hyper-focused on that, and because we have this broad ecosystem of over 500 different AI models and growing, it makes sense to look to a provider such as Veritone because you have that element of future investment protection in that AI technology. So you can be assured that with Veritone, you're going to have the latest and greatest access as it continues to evolve. And so that'd be one thing to definitely look for. Another thing to look for is just making sure it has compatibility with your content. So again, if you're looking at a redaction solution from a camera provider, it typically is designed to work only within that ecosystem. So if I have a body-worn camera provider, they might have a system where I can dock my camera in and I can do redaction on just my body-worn camera video. But if I have CCTV footage from another provider or in-car camera from another provider, that's not going to work in the redaction solution. So our Redact application was designed for that ease of use and broad compatibility in mind.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Ben, for your time. And thank you, everyone who was able to join us today. On behalf of Ben, Ha, and myself, I'm Daniel Wong from Veritone. And thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.